What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pot Scum. This is the podcast where we dive into the deepest, darkest, murkiest waters with a plethora of legendary, that's right, legendary guests. I am, of course, your bastard of ceremonies, the number one scumbag, Rex Ruger. That's Rex with 3 X's, and the ladies know why. But you might also know me as AKA the King of Sleaze, AKA the Hair Metal High Priest, AKA the man with the golden pipes and the velvet tongue. And most importantly, y'all know me as AKA Diamond David Lee Roth Jr. That's right. I'm happy to say that I spoke with my attorney today, and we're just at the finish line to once and for all prove conclusively, definitively, that I am David Lee Roth's son. That's right. You're looking at him. The son of glam, the front man for the band. Just smoked a few grams, got 1 million fans. I'm your ice cream man, Mr. Wop Babaloo Boppa Wop Bam Bam Shazam. Hot damn. And I'm feeling good today. Coming to you, as always, from the Pink Pussycat Lounge. Joined, as always, by my co-host, the man who offers very little insight and has very little things to say. But when he does, they're poignant. Mr. Keith Hernandez, former Mets legend. 1986 World Series champion. Number 17 in your programs and number 1 in your hearts. Today, of course, sporting the Exodus shirt as the shirt of the day. Bay Area thrash legends. Just saw them recently. The boys are still out there kicking ass, taking names, and doing their thing. As always, coming to you from the Pink Pussycat Lounge. And maybe today we can get Keith Hernandez to liven up a little bit and play us a little something on the bongos, but don't hold your breath. You know Keith. He's a shy boy. But anyway, enough about that. Let me tell you that you have tuned in to the No Frills podcast. Why No Frills, Rex? Why don't we get any animation? Why don't you have a cute theme song? Why don't you have any glitz and glam and hoopla and bells and whistles? Well, I'll tell you why. Come here. Because I'm almost 50 years old and I don't know what the fuck I'm doing with technology. So what you see is what you get. That's right. You get no frills, but you get plenty of thrills. And you're feasting your eyes on them right now. Mwah. And if you're sitting there thinking right now, Rex, how the hell do you do it with the hair? It's so luscious, thick, just amazing. How do you do it? Well, there it is, folks. Get the product if you want the locks that rock. There it is. Let me give myself a look here. God damn. Let's get our guest in here. What do you say? Enough fucking around here. This is Pod Scum, damn it. We want guests, we're going to get some. Hey, there's the boys, huh? You finally figured it out, huh?
Yeah, but it's a pretty small screen over here for us.
Would you rather have us sideways or is this
Maybe
cool?
turn it sideways. Yeah, try sideways. You know what, guys? And I don't want you to feel bad because I'm almost 50 years old, too, and I don't have a fucking clue what I'm doing with technology either. Not a clue. Look at you guys. Looking good, fellas. Looking good, fellas. And you know what? I usually go around telling people that David Lee Roth is my father, but now that I'm looking at Greg over there, man, I'm thinking, Jesus, man, maybe he's my long lost dad.
I'm not Greg. I'm Ryan.
I know. I'm looking at Greg. I know. Greg CHAISSON and Ryan McKAY.
Yes.
Two handsome fellas.
Yeah, you could probably come over towards me a little bit.
So,
everybody good?
Yes. So I've talked to Greg, obviously, offline a little bit about setting this up, and he made mention that he's very excited about Atomic Kings. So we're gonna dive right in. Tell us about Atomic Kings.
Ryan, go ahead.
Ryan, go ahead.
All right. Well,
What a segue. I love how Greg knows how to segue. I'll bet you he's got to be the salesman at the
He's
Guitar
pro.
Center, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a serious pro.
He's the one high pressuring everybody.
So smooth. Yeah, Atomic Kings. We've been around now for about a year and a half. It's Greg on bass, obviously, me on guitar. We got Ken Ronk on vocals and Jimmy Taft on drums. We got a new record that we're working on. Tone House Records picked us up. They're a label out of Vegas. We're doing vocals right now, so as soon as that's done, we're going to be putting that thing out probably in March of next year. We're very excited about it. It's just Atomic Kings plays basics like 70s rock and roll. There's all kinds of different parts. We're influenced by tons of bands from that era. It's mostly kind of classic blues 70s kind of.
It's everything. It's everything you ever liked about the 70s rock bands.
Yeah.
A little bit heavier at times, like 70s era Scorpions or UFO, stuff like that.
Right.
Alongside stuff like Deep Purple or Trapeze or.
Now you guys being a couple of old school guys. Now, so when you guys drop this album, is this going to be a full length LP?
Yeah.
It is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because I talked to so many musicians on here, and everybody is so divided in today's music business, what format to put music out in. Whether you put out long play albums or EPs, or some people are going the singles route or whatever. So you guys are giving us a full length album.
Yeah, full length CD.
I love that.
And the problem with vinyl these days is it's really backed up. It takes you about 6 months to press it. So right now we're concentrating on finishing the record, and we'll talk about the vinyl later. But we'll see what happens with vinyl. But definitely CDs, and then it'll be on the streaming services as well. But
and then when the album comes out, where do we go with this? How do we plan our world domination now? Where do we go with this? How are we taking over the world, Greg?
The guy that runs our label, Jason Constantine, he has a lot of ideas and connections as far as how we're going to market this and getting it on streaming services and all that sort of thing. We'll obviously be selling it off of our website. He'll be selling it off of his website. I'm sure it'll be in some brick and mortar stores at some point.
Yep.
I mean, it's different the way people do records now than the way that they were done in my time, back in the late 80s, early 90s. So streaming services didn't exist. The downside of streaming is, of course, you don't ever make any money from it.
Right.
So you'd be able to go on like our Atomic Kings Facebook page at some point and order it off of there. And we may even do pre-orders at some point. We want to get to the point where we're at least done with the vocals. The problem's been that the label and the recording studio we've been using are up in Vegas. We're all down here in Phoenix.
Right.
So our singer Ken keeps flying up there, doing a track, then bringing it back to us. And then we're kind of self-editing it, more of this, less of that. Let's add that. And so it's taken a little bit more time than we originally thought, and actually than what we would like. But it's the nature of the beast. That's just the way it is.
Now, obviously, a lot of people are going to know you, Greg, from obviously, Red Dragon Cartel, Badlands. How do you two link up together?
Me and Ryan?
Yeah.
Well, I had another band and with a different singer, and at one point we changed guitar players, and I needed a guy to that could really kind of do this 70s sort of thing that I like to do. And I had seen Ryan play. He had moved here from Illinois a few years ago, and I'd seen him play with some guys that I knew. And I thought he was a really great guitar player, and he could sing and all that stuff, and he had the right look. And so I got a hold of a friend of mine, Steve Conley, who plays in Flotsam and Jetsam. And I said, hey, who was that blonde-haired guy that was in a band with Scott Hammond, blah, blah, blah. He goes, Ryan McKay. Yeah, that's his name. Do you have his number?
Is he still alive?
Yeah. Did he move back to Illinois? So he sent me his number, and I called Ryan up, and we had met one time before, kind of just in passing.
Yeah.
And I said, hey, look, I got this project. Here's what it sounds like. Are you interested? He came down and listened to some of the songs and said, yeah, it sounds like something I haven't done yet and something I would like to do.
Yeah, it was a really guitar forward record, which I hadn't done probably ever. I spent time playing in a number of bands, and I'm a songwriter too. I fronted my own band where I was the lead singer, and actually hired a guy to play lead guitar, although I played a lot of leads on the records. But it was something that allowed me to really focus on just playing guitar, which it was such a breath of fresh air for me. I couldn't wait. I was like, I'm totally down with that, because it's something that is not of the records I've made. It's not in the catalog of, so to speak, of a guitar record.
This is a different lane for you, so to speak, right? Yeah.
So I was excited to really focus just all my energy on my guitar, which is my first love when I was a little kid. I was just being a guitar player. So I welcomed it. It was a breath of fresh air for me at the time.
And by the way, I'm so happy that you gave a shout out to the Flotsam guys, because I've had a couple of them on here. Great guys, awesome guys. Yeah,
Steve's cool.
Yeah. I saw on YouTube, and I want to know what the impetus was, or the motivation behind the little mini show that you did out in the parking lot, which I thought was great. You captured a great sound. I mean, I'm thinking you guys are dragging cords and amplifiers outside. How good is this going to be? And it was awesome.
The funny thing is, recorded on a phone.
Yeah.
So that whole show was recorded on a phone by a friend of mine named Brian Griffith. He came out and I said, hey, record this. But the original idea was that in the first week of March every year, they shut off the street here in front of the guitar store that I run, Bizarre Guitar and Drum in Phoenix, that Ryan and I both work at. Shameless plug. And I thought, this kills my business it's a Saturday, one Saturday in March.
Right.
And so I said, what we'll do this year is we'll drag everything out. And Jimmy has a PA, our drummer, and he brought a PA, and we set it up out in the parking lot. And my plan was we would play, and of course we would play loud. He has a Marshall half stack. I got SVT. We thought we'll play, and then people will complain, and we'll kind of disrupt the fair a little bit. And have a good time.
It's sort of like Beatles Rooftop.
Yeah.
Right.
That was the attitude.
And if you're annoying people, no press is bad press, right? I mean,
right.
Well, but then what we didn't, take into account is that people would actually like it.
Right.
So at one point, we probably had 1,000 people standing and stopped between, a 1.5 block area in front of us. Right. And they're just standing there. And after every song, they're clapping. And I'm like, this isn't going the way that I thought, but I'm not going to.
He was so disappointed. He looked at me and was like, they're not supposed to like us.
I'm supposed to be out here ruining the fair, goddammit.
They had a couple Phoenix police officers there, and we thought they were going to tell us to turn down or stop, and they were videotaping us. Nice. They came in the store later and said, yeah, you guys are great. Yeah. So it ended up being really cool. We didn't have any plan on how to do it. We just wanted to go out and play. The upside of that is we posted some of it, and a friend of mine named Night Bob, who's a real famous sound man right now. He's out running sound for Ace Frehley. He ran sound for Badlands on our first tour, and he had commented how great we sounded and how much he liked it and how he liked the songs and all that. And I said, well, the only thing that would have been better is if you were running sound for us, ha ha. And he said, well, how would you like to open for Ace Frehley at the Marquee Theater, which is a couple 1,000-seat venue. A lot of rock bands play there here in Phoenix or in Tempe.
Sure.
And if you want, you'd be direct support on that bill. And so I talked to these guys, and it seemed like a no-brainer. So we went and did it. So, it's weird how you're thinking you're doing one thing and you end up with all this positive press and positive response out of it. And when we opened for Ace after the first song, the crowd erupted, and I was like, oh. And after every song, it was just more and more of the same, and people were really into it.
Response.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised that people would like, kind of our 70s blues rocky riff rock, rock.
Yeah, just rock.
Yeah.
And
the moral of the story. So the moral of the story for young musicians is bang around in those instruments in a parking lot, and you could wind up opening for a legend like Ace Frehley.
There you go.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
Stick with it, kids. Stick with it. Now, Ryan, were you a fan of Greg's earlier bands?
Yeah, I bought the Badlands stuff back in the day. I was just starting high school, I think, at the time. when that stuff came out. And I remember being excited about hearing that Jake, I was a fan of Jake. So I loved Jake in Ozzy. And then when he had a new record out, I was like, I'm definitely checking that out. And I loved Ray. I mean, how can you not love
what an amazing, the great Eric Singer, just an amazing band. An amazing band.
I bought the first Badlands record, really loved it. I saw them on the Great White and Tesla tour. I was like 15, I think at the time, or 14 or 15. And then I got Voodoo Highway, and I actually like Voodoo Highway better.
We won't ask Greg how old he was back during that time.
All I can tell you is my first bass teacher was Abraham Lincoln.
Yeah, he was pretty good. He was pretty good on the 4-string, I guess. So is the plan once the full length comes out though? Because obviously you did mention the store, and obviously you have ties to the community there. Is the possibility there to take this out on the road?
Not in the traditional sense of being gone for 60 days or something. What we would probably do is do select dates that fit into our schedule, because I have the store, Ryan works at the store, Jimmy has his own business, and Ken has his own business. So we definitely plan on playing and going. Obviously we're in Arizona, so if we were going to California for a weekend, or Vegas or New Mexico or Texas, we can make all that work. I'd like to be involved in some stuff, dates that make sense to us, that are high profile enough for us to get, some recognition out of it. And I mean, while it would be great to go on the road for 90 days, it just isn't practical anymore. And, the amount of money, we don't do this to generate income. We do this because we write songs that we like each other as a band. We like hanging out. We have a good time. We respect each other as musicians and as humans. And so we just want to share it with people. And if they like it, great. And if they don't, they'll move on to something that they do. And we're not in the competitive music business anymore. Like back when I was in Badlands, that's a business. This is not, well, there is some money involved as far as us, promoting it and making it and all that sort of thing. We just do it for the love of the music.
Right. And now, once you prove that you have the chops, Ryan, and you get the gig in Greg's band, how many times do you become employee of the month there at the store? I mean, you got to be his best employee now, right? I mean,
0.
That's got to rocket you right to the top, right?
No, 0.
0? You don't even get the good parking spot in front of the store or anything, huh?
Parking spot? No, I got to park down the street.
My daughter used to work here in the store with us for, I don't know, 6 or 7, 8 months.
She won every month.
So she was employee of the day, week, and month every year.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess I could see that. Having a daughter of my own, I guess that would be. And now, so what other stuff do you have going as far as like musical endeavors? Is this the only thing that you're involved in, Ryan? Is just Atomic Kings with Greg?
No. It's the main thing. But I'm working on a solo record. I've never done a solo record, so I've been piece by piece getting that together when I'm not busy with the Kings. And that's pretty much it. I mean, I do an acoustic duo around town on the weekends because I love doing that. People drunkenly shouting out, play a song from Meatloaf, and then I'll oblige. Just for fun.
And he found out they were just actually trying to order meatloaf at the bar.
So yeah, I mean, Kings is definitely the priority. It takes precedent above everything else. But I'm always writing full-on songs and more of a singer-songwriter type. So that's what my solo material is more like. And then Atomic Kings allows me to focus on guitar, which I love too. Like my first love. Now,
when people come into the store, who's the better salesman out of you two? Like, who's going to get someone into an instrument? It's almost like selling a car, right? You know what I mean? Like, hey, can I put you in a nice Ibanez today? I mean, like,
what have I got to do to get you in this Ibanez today?
Yeah. What do I got to do I got to do to send you home and pick in this Jackson today?
I have an unfair advantage because I can set the price at whatever I want. So
if
Brian's selling something for $1,000 and it looks like it's kind of waffling, he might come to me and say, hey, is there anything more we can do? And then I'll say, I'll look and see what we're into it, and I can set the prices the way that makes sense to me.
Yeah, he's the boss too. So he's the
the
better
boss.
salesman.
He's definitively the boss.
He knows everything. He knows all the
Right.
How the sausage is made back here.
Right. He's got to peek behind the curtain, so to speak. So,
Yeah.
And I want to ask you, Greg. Outside of music, though, and I want to make sure that I read this right, though. Are you also down there coaching and teaching baseball?
I was right before I took over this store, and I had cancer in 2015.
Right.
Right before that, I was working at a place called Arizona World of Baseball, and it was a place like a big batting cage pitching facility.
Yep.
And they had summer camps in there for ages 5 to 13. And so I would run that. I ran that for like 3 years. And then my son, who played baseball in college, also worked there. My daughter, who played softball in high school, would work there as an instructor. I had a bunch of students, anywhere from little kids all the way to the guys that were playing in college, and even some guys that were playing independent ball. I've coached baseball in high school and in college. I've coached collegiate summer ball as well. So I've been pretty involved in it. When I got cancer, I was in Red Dragon Cartel at the time, and I had to quit Red Dragon Cartel to do the treatment. And I also had to quit I quit everything just to do this cancer treatment, which took about almost 5 months.
Right.
And my plan was my cancer treatment was over in October of 2015. After the beginning of the year of 2016, I was going to go back to teaching baseball. I really liked doing it. But the owner of this store passed away in September 2015. And his widow, who is also a good friend of mine, said, "Hey, would you run the store?" He had it in his will. The guy that owned the store, Bob Turner, had it in his will that he wanted me to, if he passed, he knew he was sick. He wanted me to be the guy that takes over the store. So I was just getting done with cancer treatment, and I really had no thought about it. But like I said, we're good friends. And I said, yeah, I'll do it. And she lets me kind of do whatever I want, which is great, because I could hire Ryan. I could hire the guys that I have. I got rid of some of the guys that worked here before because they were morons. And
you can have loud, obnoxious concerts in the parking lot.
And I could do that. But it kind of cuts into my teaching time, because I coached. My son is a high school baseball coach, and I was his assistant for 1.5 years. But I'm so busy with the store and then the Kings, and then I also play adult baseball, which isn't the same as making an adult movie. But but so yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm playing in.
He always gets the third base in that movie.
Yeah. I'm playing in 18 games in the next 30 days. So.
Well, the bat is kind of it can resemble, the shape of the male anatomy, and there are balls involved. So, there are similarities.
I think I'll just leave it at that.
Now, Greg, but you say coaching baseball though. So you must have been a pretty damn good ball player back in your day. Then was there ever a time?
He's still a good ball player.
Was there ever a time when it could have been baseball over music?
Well, when I graduated from high school, I was supposed to go to college to play baseball. And the problem was I didn't really want to go to college. School wasn't exactly easy for me. I'm dyslexic.
Yeah.
And at the time, as old as I am, they didn't actually have a name for dyslexia then. And so they just thought that I had a learning issue. Yeah. And so going to college didn't seem like the right move for me. And the summer that I graduated high school, some younger kids that are a couple years younger than me approached me and said, "Hey, if you buy a bass, you could be in our band." And so that's kind of how that started. I had no misconceived idea. I didn't think, okay, well, I'm done with high school, I'll become a musician. It never was even on my radar till these guys approached me and said, "Yeah, become our bass player." And I was like,
right.
Why? And so that's kind of how it started.
There's girls.
Yeah, they said that girls like musicians.
They do. I've heard that a time or two myself. Okay. That's why Ryan got into it, right?
I mean, I'm not going to lie.
He's not going to lie. Yeah.
I met my wife being a musician, so there you go.
Yeah, there you go. So it has a happy ending. But what was your position back in the day, though, as far as baseball goes?
Well, I liked playing first base because there was guaranteed a lot of action during the game. But by the time I got to high school, I was so fast that they weren't going to take some guy that ran as fast as I did and put me at first base. And that's what the coach told me. You know, your future is in the outfield.
Yeah.
And I kind of resisted that till I got sick and tired of sitting on the bench, and I decided to go play the outfield. And you know, I still play, and I play the outfield now. So.
And do you follow pro baseball a lot as well? Are you a fan?
I'm right now following the St. Louis Cardinals, and while we're chatting here, I'm going to look on my phone and see whether they blew their 2-0 lead in the top of the ninth inning.
It's so funny that you're talking. It's funny that you're talking baseball, because up until I was a teenager, that was the direction I was going into. And much like Ryan mentioned earlier, around 16, 17, 18, that's when I just started to discover, you know, a little bit of the the happy smoke and the drinking and girls. And all of a sudden, I wasn't concentrating on baseball as much, but it was going to be my life's dream at one point. Then, then the wheels fall off when, like I said, when you become a teenager, all of a sudden you're not as diligent anymore. But I mean, it was my passion for the longest time. So when I read that about you, I took a huge interest. That obviously piqued my interest a lot. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you recognize him back there, but there's Keith Hernandez back there.
Oh yeah.
Hey,
yeah. He doesn't say much during the show, but
former Cardinal.
Well, he knows
former Cardinal.
Former Cardinal. I
myself am a long-suffering Mets fan. So are we going to win this playoff series?
It looks pretty good.
I hope so. I mean, right out of the gate, we throw DeGrom and Scherzer and Bassett right at a team. I've been suffering for a long time. Greg. 86 is all I've got to hang my hat on. That's a long time, Ryan.
The Cardinals managed to blow their game today, so I'm unhappy.
Yeah. It's
now, Ryan, what about you?
Cardinals fan.
Any big sports athletic stories out of you?
No, I was never a jock. I was into music. I was always a musician. I always wanted to be a musician, and that's been pretty much it. All I did sports-wise was play with the neighbor kids. We play wiffle ball or play football.
But as an adult, though, I've watched some of those videos. I like those adult wiffle ball leagues. That looks like a lot of fun, though.
Yeah,
it does. That's more my speed nowadays. And now, so when you're saying you're playing adult baseball, is it a high competitive level?
Yeah, it's actual real baseball. It's 60-foot pitching distance, 90 feet. 40. 60. So it's the real deal, and it's full-on uniforms and metal cleats and wood bats and all that kind of stuff. When I play year-round, they have the World Series here every year.
Yeah, right.
In this time of year, and so I'm playing on 3 different teams in 3 out of 4 weeks. So I'll be pretty busy, and by the time that's done, I'll be a cripple.
well, I certainly don't want to take. I know I segued right into baseball, but first and foremost, congratulations on beating the shit out of fucking cancer. That's fucking great. And how are you right now, health wise? Yeah, that is great.
I just passed my 7-year. My last treatment was 7 years ago. Last week, and I'm cancer free. I had to go have a checkup, and I'm cancer free. So. I'm still alive and kicking and doing good, and I don't really think about it too much anymore. When first couple of years, you kept thinking, is this going to come back or not?
I know.
So far, knock on wood, if I get cancer again, it won't be in my throat, so it'll be somewhere else.
Right. So tell me about these guys that are in the band right now. So where do you find like these? Obviously I'm talking to you two, but so like Jimmy and Ken. Now you have a history with those guys. You mentioned that Ken was in a band, right, with you?
Yeah. Well, Jimmy played in some bands here while I still lived in LA that had some friends of mine in it, and so when I would come back to Phoenix for a visit, I would go see them play, and I always thought he was a really great drummer. And I always said, hey, at some point, you and I will play in a band together. So when I moved back here, we put an ad out together just to get in a cover band together. And it was an interesting ad. It said, are you sick of your bass player and drummer? Do they suck? Call us. And this guy called us, and a lot of bass players and drummers didn't find any amusement in that ad, in the wording of that ad. We did, but they didn't. So Jimmy and I played together on and off over the course of since I've been back here. Ken is probably the most well-known local singer here. He's the most highly regarded. Everyone loves him. He's Mr. Nice Guy. He's a great
Yeah.
singer. Kind of sounds a little like Paul Rogers on steroids.
Nothing wrong with that.
Not
Yeah,
at all.
exactly.
And so Jimmy had been in a band with him in the 80s, but another guy that I know was trying to put together this Bad Company free tribute band. And I brought Ken into that. And when I heard him sing, I thought, oh, okay. Because I'd never actually heard him sing before, but I knew his reputation. And I really liked the way he sang. When the previous band that me and Ryan were in went a little sideways with our previous singer, we ended up firing him. I told Jimmy and Ken, hey, we're getting rid of this guy.
For Jimmy and Ryan.
Or Jimmy and Ryan, and we're getting rid of this guy. And they said, well, who are we going to get? And I said, Ken Ronk. And Jimmy went, okay. So I called up Ken. I said, hey, you want to come down and be in my band? It's all original, blah, blah, blah. So he came over and heard some of the songs that we had been writing, me and Ryan and Jimmy. And he said, yeah, that sounds like it's right up my alley. So he was just the only singer if we hadn't have found Ken, I'm sure we would have found someone, but he was number one on the list. I didn't think he'd turn it down because I knew this kind of music that we write is right up his alley.
Right.
And so it was just a natural fit. It was like seamless.
Yeah.
He came down one day. We played him something with no lyrics on it, an original tune. He started writing lyrics and melody lines right on the spot. And while he was singing the first song, me and Jimmy and Ryan kind of looked at each other like, oh.
Yeah, we got something. We got something here. Yeah.
This is what we've been missing.
That's a nice feeling. That's nice. So, what's your creative process like when you guys get together, Ryan? Like, is the creative process kind of dominated by one of you guys, or is it kind of like a collaborative thing when you guys get together to create?
It's collaborative for sure. So the way it works is like I'll come up with a riff or two, kind of like the beginnings of a song. Then I'll bring it to Greg, and then he'll do the Greg thing to it, and vice versa. So he'll have a riff, and then or two, and then bring them to me, and then I'll do my thing with it. What's nice about our relationship musically is that he's like, I'm more of a pop guy because I'm as a songwriter and guy. That's the music that I've made over the years. It's rock, but it's got more of a melodic sense.
Sure.
And he's not that. He has a melodic sense, but he's more focused on really intricate riffs, different parts, all the different things in the songs. So he's coming from, I don't want to say prog, but it's definitely more prog than me. So like, so we always joke that like I'll pretty up his songs, and then he'll kind of throw my songs in the mud and make them.
I'll ugly up his.
Yeah.
I mean, Ryan is his influences or what he brings in are more along the lines of, say, like Mott the Hoople or even David Bowie or T-Rex or Sweet or Slade.
Yeah.
And I'll bring in the Deep Purple, the Trower, the Humble Pie, whatever it is. As a matter of fact, Ryan had a song that it's going to end up being on the record. And the interesting part about this song is it's kind of this really kind of commercially pop sort of thing. And then I throw in something that's not. And so now you got this harder edge to it. And then partway through it, I said, it would be really cool is if we did like the evil version, the Motorhead version of LaGrange by ZZ Top. So out of nowhere in this song comes this minory version of a boogie in the middle of this song. And so that's kind of how our minds work together. Now, Jimmy, sometimes he'll start playing a drum beat and Ryan and I'll write a song to his drum beat.
Yeah.
There's going to be a song on the record called Jimmy's Page, which is an acoustic thing that Jimmy wrote that Ryan and Jimmy they've actually recorded it. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of like a really cool melodic acoustic interlude that's going to lead into another song. And Ken's actually a very good songwriter. He writes all the lyrics and probably 90% of the melody lines. Ryan and I will get involved in some of that a little bit. But I think Ken could write stuff too. And once we get past this first record, we'll see what we're open to what whoever has something good, bring it in.
Right. And now when you guys are in the store and somebody comes in and wants to buy a bass, are you allowed to sell them a bass, or is that your department and vice versa?
No, Ryan can play bass. So
if
he knows what he's doing, if he's got a customer. Now on occasion, he might say, hey, this guy wants someone to demo a bass. Can you play it? And conversely, I'll do the same thing with Ryan. If a guy wants to hear what a pedal will do, or a guy that can really, I can play guitar, but I can't play it like Ryan.
Right.
And so I might say, hey, Ryan, and this happens all the time, show this guy what this 335 will do, or show him what this Strat will do. And then Ryan, can go through the paces on that. We all kind of work together. Now, one of the things, though, I would say, because we work in the store together, lots of times I'll bring a riff in, or a riff or two, and we'll sit down before the store opens, and I'll show him the riff I have. And it might even be as much as a riff and a verse and a chorus, and then I need some other parts. Then he'll record it, take it home, and then he'll write to it. And same thing, he'll come in and say, hey, I have this idea, what do you think? And he'll play it for me, and I'll say, yeah, let's. And a funny part is we make these videos for the store. We have a YouTube channel.
Yep.
And sometimes he'll be playing just some riff, and I'll go, what were you playing there? And he'll say, oh, that's something I made up. Okay, let's make a song out of that. And there's a song on the record.
Yeah, there's one from the video.
From that. And we have a catalog of ideas. It's him and I are never at a shortage for A, words, and B, musical ideas. We have plenty of them.
Well, Ryan did say he was a songwriter, so I mean, he's obviously a wordsmith, right? I mean,
yeah, I write lyrics too, but I tell you, Ken has done an amazing job with the lyrics on the record.
Yeah.
And what's funny is, like, we worked these songs up. We even played the parking lot thing, and I could hear bits. I wasn't really focused on the words that Ken was saying.
Right.
Just listening to his melodies and whatnot, and it's like, wow, this sounds really great. And now that I'm hearing the vocals coming back from the recordings, I'm like, these lyrics are outstanding.
Yeah.
He's like a great lyricist, so I don't have to come within 10 feet of his lyrics. I mean, if I hear something in the words, like, are you saying this word here? Because you could change it to this and it would just sing better.
Right.
Because some words just sing better than others, But I think that's about it. And that might have been just one part of one song out of 10. So he's just done a great job. But yeah, I do write a lot of lyrics and songs, and done it for years. And it's like a muscle, but you got to keep exercising it.
Yeah. So Greg, when you had mentioned earlier that, you're doing this more at this stage of your life, is more of like a love and passion and not really so much from a business sense. Are you relieved when you look at today's music business that you don't got to go out and do it for a living? It's crazy out there today, isn't it? I mean, to try to make it as a musician today from a commercial standpoint.
I don't even understand how the music business works anymore. I mean,
you and me both, buddy.
Record companies are, I'm sure there's bands that get big record deals, but I don't know how that works anymore. And, now, before you toured to sell records and you made your money, you spent money touring to sell records. Now you have to try to sell some records to afford yourself to tour. And then you have to start charging to do a meet and greet, because, it's so hard to, people don't understand how expensive it is to stay on the road. And even if you made $500 at a meet and greet, that's enough to, pay for gas to go to the next town or whatever it is. I mean, the money is certainly not what it was back in my day. And the business has certainly changed a lot, not for the better. And then you have places like Spotify and these places that are licensing your music, and they're making all the money and you're not making any.
Right.
And, there's that's something that needs to be addressed, in my opinion. I mean, when you got Peter Frampton, who sold 17 million downloads or whatever it was of Baby, I Love Your Way, and ended up with like $17,000.
I know. Pretty sad.
That's ridiculous.
Agreed. I couldn't agree with you more. So, Are you in touch with Jake? You get to, I mean, do you have any contact with Jake or any of the, obviously the late great Ray Gillen has passed. Eric Singer's probably got his hands a little full in his band right now, Kiss. So he's probably a little bit busy, being as that they're on a farewell tour that's probably going to last until 2050. But do you ever talk to any of the guys?
Jeff and I are still really good friends. Second drummer, Jeff Martin.
Yep.
And Jeff and I kind of were in bands in our formative years in the early 70s. So I've known Jeff a long time. And Jake and I are still friends. We text. Neither one of us likes to talk on the phone.
Right.
So we'll just text each other half a dozen times a week. And it's usually just about, have you seen this movie, or check out this funny meme, or, how's your dog doing? Or it's never about, what I'm doing musically, what he's doing musically. I mean, it comes up a little bit in conversation, but Jake and my friendship is based on just that friendship. We just happen to be musicians that played together, that, enjoyed working together and worked well together. But Jake and I would be friends, kind of like Ryan and I would be friends whether we were musicians or not. It's just one of those kind of things. So, I mean, Jake and I have been friends for
40 years now.
40 years, and it's coming up on 40 years. And I don't see that changing. And when he's in town, he comes and sees me. When I'm in Vegas, if I have a chance, I go see him. And we go out to dinner. So, yeah, I mean, I consider Jake my best friend. So.
Yeah. Now, if someone comes into the store, I just want to get your perspective on this, and I'm sure maybe I'll get some comments from other musicians. But somebody comes into the store. I'll start with you, Ryan. And being as that guitar is your instrument, someone comes into the store and they want a guitar. Are you pointing them to a certain brand? Is there one that you prefer yourself that you like to steer people towards?
Well, I try to ask them what their
style of music they want to play.
If they know, or what style exactly. Yeah. What style they do, or they, can name a guitar player. What's this guitar player play, or whatever. Right. But I mean, I do have my favorites in the store. I'm a Les Paul player now, a Gibson, but I grew up playing Strats. So I'm kind of like, I look at them like they're tools that have different jobs to do, like a Stratocaster versus a Les Paul or something. So to that end, when you're talking to somebody who might be interested in buying a guitar, again, like you list, like, what kind of music do you want to play, and that sort of thing.
Also, what price point do you want to be in?
Well,
good point.
You might want to play a Gibson Les Paul, but if you've got $700, then let me show you this Epiphone Les Paul made by Gibson.
Right.
So, I mean, once you determine what the customer, his style of music, what he likes, and what his budget is, that's easy. A lot of people come in here, they're just starting, and they could be grown-ups and they're just starting.
Yeah.
Especially during the whole, shutdown thing. People are on their bucket list and getting their free money, and they're coming in. I always wanted to play the guitar. Yeah. Okay. What kind of guitar should I get? Well, at this point, you don't know how to play. At this point, you should pick something that, is aesthetically pleasing to your eye.
Yeah.
Maybe for me, when I think of electric guitar, I think of a Gibson Les Paul.
Yeah.
Other guys, Jake, when he thinks of electric guitar, I think he thinks of an SG or an SG Junior. I know that's his first love.
Right.
Ryan may have at one point thought of a Strat.
Strat at the beginning.
So, and then you can kind of go from there and explain the intricacies of what a Les Paul does versus Strat versus Jaguar versus an SG versus an Explorer, blah, 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 blah. And so, we try to tailor make the experience to what the customer wants.
Right.
And we don't try to oversell them. I mean, just because the guy has $3,000 doesn't mean if he doesn't know how to play that he should be buying a Les Paul custom. Right. Maybe he should buy something for a somewhat less amount, decide this is what he really wants to do. Yeah. Right. Now, if the guy's insistent, no, I want the $3,000 Les Paul, I'll sell it to him. So, but we try to make it a good experience for the total experience.
Try to build a trust, because that's the thing about everybody that works here has been playing music for decades.
Right.
So they know every little nuance and stuff. So it's that's what you want to do, is try to build that kind of relationship with someone, so that when you want to buy another guitar, they're going to come to you and go, "What do you think about this?"
I mean, we've been in business. I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Greg. Please go ahead.
We've been in business since '76, and that's by itself. Excuse me. That's
one heck of a feat, in business today. Yeah. Now, but I want to ask though, do you see a lot of kids coming in the way it used to be back in the day, where kids were so enthusiastic to buy bands? Now technology really seems like it's made kids, not have the attention span. I'm not saying all kids, and I'm not saying there's not kids still coming in there devoted to their instruments and taking lessons, but are kids as rabid about coming in and buying instruments and starting bands, on a younger level as they used to be?
Yeah. Well, before I started working at the store, I've only been at the store for 2 years, but before then I was.
Is that all?
It feels like a lifetime.
Greg's sicky already.
Yeah, but I was a full-time guitar teacher from like 2003 to 2015 or something.
Right.
And so I saw a lot of kids come and go. And out of, say 100 kids that would come in, there'd probably be about 6 or 7 of them that you can really go, that kid's really into it.
Yeah.
I remember I had a kid one time, he was 8 years old and he could name all 5 members of AC/DC.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so cool. I was like, that's like me reading the back of the album jacket and want to know more when I was 8 years old.
I miss those days, buddy. I miss them. I know. I used to study those liner notes like they were a Bible.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
I know.
so
And it's kind of sad
really
that we
cool.
don't see that physical product no more. It's
Yes, exactly.
That's why when we do a CD, we put an actual booklet in it that has some pictures, has some special thanks, has what kind of gear we might use, who sponsors us, who we endorse.
Right.
Because that's the kind of thing that I enjoyed as a kid as well. I mean, when
without a doubt. Yeah, I did too.
When Badlands first came out, CDs were just happening, and I was going, God, I hope this comes out on vinyl, which it did. But the second album, Voodoo Highway, didn't come out on vinyl in the United States. But when we went to England to play, it came out in England. So the record company brought us each a half dozen vinyl Voodoo Highway records. I wouldn't even have that. So, the whole liner notes thing is a big deal to me and to Ryan. So.
Right. Now, given when somebody comes into a store, and you guys must ascribe to this as people who run a business, where they say the customer is always right. So if I come into the store on a slow day and there's nothing going on and you guys are sitting around, could I possibly get an impromptu Atomic Kings jam session?
Yeah, you never know.
Maybe.
I mean, lots of times I tell people if they're buying a bass and they don't know how to play, I'll say, go on YouTube and look up beginning bass lessons. And when you have kind of an idea, a little bit about it, come in on a day when we're slow and bring your bass and I'll show you how to play something.
Nice.
So, my deal, and I explain it to the guys that work here, is I don't want to sell them that bass. I want to sell him every bass and every amp he buys for the rest of the time that he plays. Selling one guitar to somebody isn't that big of a trick. Building a trust with them and getting their, enthusiasm up and getting them to come back and buy every snare drum they're ever going to have from us or every guitar. That's important to me.
Right.
Yeah. And I remember, like, when I was a kid going to music stores, I mean, I looked up to the guys that worked there. They seemed like seasoned musicians, and it wasn't like Guitar Center, like you go into a Guitar Center oftentimes, not all of them, but a majority of them, the people that work there are younger and they don't seem to really know.
Right.
You don't know what their background is, but these guys, you walk in, you could tell.
Right.
They got a gig, tonight, and
it feels like it feels a little colder when you walk into those places. Like you're walking into like an instrument mall, you don't get that specialized or that one-to-one kind of treatment. Okay, because I have some music stores here in upstate New York that are like that too, where people will come over and say, just like you guys, I can play this for you. If you want to plug it in and hear how it sounds, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of gets lost when you get in those bigger music stores.
Totally.
There's only 4 of us that work here, and all 4 of us are well known locally as musicians. The drummer that works here, Jerry Gray, he plays in
700 bands
at once.
Yeah.
The other guy, Donnie Chris, he's a skateboard guy. So we get a lot of skateboard fanatics that come in here and they buy guitars because they know Donnie. Donnie's played in bands since the 80s. Of course, Ryan has done tons of gigs and everyone knows him and likes him. And then you have me.
Yeah, right. What was that supposed to mean, Greg? And then you have me.
Well, I'm just going to leave it at that.
You are beloved, sir. You are beloved. Come on.
I have a colorful reputation here.
Hello, Bizarre Guitar. Hi, yes. What days is Greg CHAISSON off? He's off on Mondays.
That's the day I'll be in, right?
Yeah. You don't want to see me come in on Monday, and then I'm usually here anyway.
Yeah. Well, listen, guys, I had a blast talking to you guys, man. I really, I'm looking forward to the record, man. Most importantly, Greg, it's great to see that you're healthy and that you've beaten the shit out of cancer. I love that. And Ryan, it was I've been setting this up with Greg, but it was a great, pleasant surprise to have you join us as well. I had a blast talking to you guys, man. I wish you guys a lot of luck with the record. I'll be looking for. Do we happen to have a title for it or a date that it will be expected?
We're just going to call it Atomic Kings on the first one. I think the name is strong enough to do it.
Sure.
We have an idea for what the artwork will look like. The release date is sometime probably between the beginning of February to the end of March. It just depends. Like I said, circumstances caused us to take a little bit longer with the vocals, and then there were some personal things that happened with, where we couldn't get up there, or there was a situation in the studio up there. So we're kind of taking our time. Our plan was to have had it out now, right around now, but it doesn't do us any. It doesn't serve anyone to put it out if it's not ready. So we're just going to take our time and get it right. Something that we can be proud of, because at the end of the day, it's out there forever in whatever form it is. Right. And you want it to be right.
And now you happen to have the advantage of putting Ken Ronk on high alert and let him know that you've done a podcast with David Lee Roth Jr. So he could be replaced at any given time.
Any minute now. He's sweating bullets.
Any minute now. You guys have networked here successfully, and you guys have piqued my interest. You may be able to lure me down to the warm sunshine of Phoenix, Arizona. I'm in upstate New York here, the armpit and/or asshole of the United States. So I mean, I will be in a couple of months. I will be up to my hips in snow, and you two guys will be laughing it up down there.
And we will. And plus, we might be replacing Jimmy with Keith Hernandez.
Yeah.
Well, he does play a mean bongo, and if you want like a Latino flair in your music, if that's something that you're looking for, I mean, me and Keith will be on the next plane down there. We will.
Yeah. On timbales, Mr. Keith Hernandez.
Hang on, let me see. Yeah, I have his number right here.
Yeah.
Well, you do know that he's number 17 in the program, but number 1 in everyone's hearts.
That's it.
That's it. Listen, it was a blast talking to you, Greg CHAISSON, Ryan McKay. Love you guys, man.
Yeah,
it was a blast talking to you, gents.
Let me just say, if you want to see if we're up to, just look us up. We have an Instagram page,
Atomic Kings Band,
and we have a Facebook page, Atomic Kings. You can go on there and find out whatever is going on. We're always posting updates and information and photos and all kinds.
They may be coming to a parking lot near you. You never know, right?
Well, I'll tell you what. We'll be in the parking lot here and come up this next March. We'll be in the parking lot again.
Yeah.
And now, Ryan, does that end up because because Greg's an old fart now at the stage of his life? Does that become your job now to do all the technology shit? I see him deferring to you with the Instagram and the Facebook and all that stuff.
It's best that I do it.
It's best that you. Yeah,
it's best. It's best for everybody in the Maricopa County.
It's best for everybody involved that Greg is hands off with the technology.
Yes, well, it can only lead to disaster.
I'm not known for my patience.
You just keep your hands wrapped around that bass and let Ryan handle the heavy lifting with the with the technology and everything.
That's why
it's been a blast though, guys. It really has, and we'll stay in touch. Hopefully, we can do this again sometime after the record comes out.
Well, I appreciate your support, and it means a lot to us. And
absolutely,
we'll keep you posted. And then when it's done, we'll do it again.
Please do. Yeah, it's good talking to you guys, man. Now go sell some instruments. There's a world of lazy kids out there that need to start playing.
Amen.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Yeah. Talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.
Are we good?
We good?
We're good.
All right, man. I appreciate it.
That was fun.
Yeah, yeah. I just like watching you guys log off because I don't edit anything. So I want to see if you guys can figure out how to turn this thing off.
All you're going to see is my big fat face.
Later, guys.
All right, later, man.
Later. There they go right there. Couple of legends. That is Greg CHAISSON and Ryan McKay. You can check out, as you just heard, come early sometime the beginning of next year, February, March, Atomic Kings. And, of course, Greg CHAISSON. Come on. Is the guy not a legend? Badlands, Red Dragon Cartel. And he's played with all kinds of other people, too. I mean, rubbed elbows with the great Jake E. Lee in the band. I mean, playing alongside one of the great guitar players of all time. The late Ray Gillen on vocals. Eric Singer, who's now the drummer for a little-known band called Kiss, who's out on their farewell tour, which you can probably catch up until the year 2050. But I want to thank Greg CHAISSON, Ryan McKay from Atomic Kings. You heard them. Check them out. Go down to their music store, Bazaar Guitar and Drum. They're in Phoenix, Arizona. Buy some instruments off them. Start your own band. Maybe you can be opening for the Atomic Kings. And go on and look for them, as I said, or as they said, on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. You know, they're out there. They're out there. The boys are out there doing their thing, man. And so I hope you guys enjoyed that. Thank you for tuning in to Pod Scum. And remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.